I want to bring in Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, for more on all of these issues. Congressman, a lot to keep track of, so thank you for coming on. I want to start with the crisis in the Middle East. Is there an end to this conflict in sight? And what do you think the U.S. role should be moving forward?
Those are two very difficult questions. There should be an end to this conflict in sight. I believe Israel has significantly weakened Hezbollah, they significantly weakened Hamas, and they significantly weakened Iran. They are in a position to negotiate a settlement at this point that would protect Israel and move towards a different authority in the Palestinian territories. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they are ready to work with a group of Palestinians that are an alternative to Hamas, but the war has to stop first before that process can begin, and the humanitarian cost is enormous right now, and certainly in Gaza, and we've seen it in Lebanon. Yes, we should get to that. The U.S. is in a difficult position. I don't support abandoning Israel because of the threats that they face from Hezbollah and Iran, most notably the Houthis as well. But it is time for them to negotiate a peace going forward. I think the costs long-term to Israel's security are growing by the day.
Now, Vladimir Putin says Russia's launch of a new hypersonic missile is in response to the U.S. allowing Ukraine to use American-made long-range missiles to hit Russia. So why did President Biden allow that just weeks before he leaves office?
Look, President Biden has been trying to walk a delicate balance from the start of this war, and he's made it very clear. The policy of the administration is we need to protect a sovereign, democratic Ukraine. And that's tough because Putin is hell-bent on destroying it. That's why we have continually given support to Ukraine and built a 50-plus nation coalition to give support to Ukraine as well. But the second piece of it is don't go to war with Russia. And a lot of people have sort of not focused on how important that second part is. That second part's really important. He's trying to strike that balance. When Russia brought a whole bunch of North Koreans into the war, he wanted to send a signal that escalating was not a good idea by giving Ukraine greater power to defend against that. But ultimately, where we have to get to, arm Ukraine, force Putin to the bargaining table. I'm desperately afraid that President-elect Trump is going to abandon Ukraine, and the war will go on until Putin takes all of Ukraine.
How concerned are you about Russia escalating this conflict even further?
I do not think it is likely, but yes, I'm concerned about it. And I think every decision that we make needs to be balanced to try to make sure we can defend Ukraine, but not stumble into that larger war between Russia and NATO. That would be a catastrophe, and it is something that has to be managed carefully. We can't just say, well, Putin only responds to strength, so we'll keep throwing everything at him. We throw everything at him, he's going to try to throw everything back. You have to walk a very fine and difficult line.
Now, Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is facing criticism over lack of experience in addition to an old sexual assault allegation that he denies. He says it was consensual. What do you make of his candidacy overall, and how do you plan to approach issues with the Pentagon if he is confirmed?
I think there's three layers to it. One is on the allegations. Credibility matters, and we saw that with Matt Gaetz. It just got to the point where the allegations against him were so strong that his credibility as Attorney General was gone. So if Peter Hegseth has these problems and he has done things that have called into question his character and his credibility, that becomes a problem for him to be able to successfully lead the department. Second is, does he have the experience? And his combat service is admirable. He would be in charge of running a $900 billion plus bureaucracy. He has no experience in doing that. Whatever policy he wanted to implement, would he really be able to walk into that and successfully run it? I have serious doubts. But then third is, what is the policy? And Donald Trump has made it clear that his top priority for the Department of Defense is loyalty to him, which I think is a huge problem. Is he putting a Secretary of Defense in there to purge the department so that it only has loyalties to Trump? And by the way, loyalties, again, to what? What is Donald Trump's policy that he wants the Pentagon to adhere to? It seems to be primarily focused on just being loyal to Trump, no matter what he says. It would be one thing if he was saying, well, I think we should have this policy. I need these people in there to implement it. But it seems more like a loyalty test than a clear policy for America's national security.
On the questions of lack of experience in general, and I'm out of time, but I just want to ask you this quickly. Could it be a good thing to bring in outsiders with a fresh set of eyes in some of these bureaucracies?
Yeah, it's a balance, okay? But you bring in an outsider who has absolutely no idea how the place works, and that outsider, I'd like to have someone who has some experience who's a critic. A critic of it said, look, they've been critical of this, that, and that, and they've worked in it. They've been in think tanks for a while. I mean, to bring in somebody with no experience to try to shake things up, it rarely ends well, regardless of the policy, whether it's good or bad.
House Armed Services Ranking Member Adam Smith, we appreciate your time today, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you.